MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 64 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 13 of City Hunter, titled The Most Advanced Smuggling Maneuver, Treatment by a Beautiful Dentist. It's another week, guys, and we're back.
We're always back. Every week. There's very few weeks in which we are not back.
And even sometimes when we're not there for weeks, we make up for those weeks. We've done that.
Yeah. We do want to talk about the episode that we're talking about, but actually, a lot of City Hunter news happened.
It actually makes me really happy when we get to delay talking about the episode because we have new news. And we have a lot of it this week.
It's weird that it's the year 2023, and suddenly there's just a bunch of City Hunter news. And like when we started this podcast, I don't think we expected there to be just a bunch of City Hunter news that would come out while we're doing this show.
Yeah, like we were thinking this was going to be a really niche, retro sort of podcast focused on something that was already said and done with, and now news.
It just keeps happening as of recent years, and it's going to be happening for a couple more years to come.
At least.
Yeah.
So the most recent thing we saw was that over on Amazon Prime, if you go there right now, you can watch the newly released animated movie Lupin III vs. Cat's Eye.
And again, Cat's Eye is Tsukasa Hojo's manga that predated City Hunter. 3 cat burglar girls.
Sisters.
They're sisters. They steal stuff, mostly looking for their dad. And anyway, so they interact with Lupin III, and this whole time we're like, oh man, does that put Cat's Eye and City Hunter in the same universe as not only Lupin III, but also Detective Conan, because Lupin has interacted with Detective Conan before in the past, so that's cool.
And if you'll remember, in the movie Shinjuku Private Eyes, I know we haven't covered it yet, but we bring it up all the time, in that movie, the 3 Cat's Eye sisters do have an extended cameo there helping out with the plot of that movie.
Yeah, I lost my mind when I saw it for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, it's Cat's Eye, for real! I thought they were just making this cute reference to their show with the coffee shop, because the name of the coffee shop is Cat's Eye, and we haven't gotten to that part of
We're getting
City
there.
Hunter
We're gonna get
yet
there this
either.
season.
But then they show up, and I'm like, oh my god, they're there? They're playing the theme song from their TV show? That's cool.
And so when we heard that this Lupin III vs. Cat's Eye movie was coming out, we were thinking, there's a possibility, but there's no way they're gonna make a City Hunter reference. Certainly not a blatant one, right? It's just not gonna happen, right?
I just wasn't even thinking about a City Hunter reference at all, if I'm to be honest. I just sort of wondered, does that mean in the future we could also include City Hunter?
It dropped last Friday from when we recorded this, and we watched it pretty much immediately.
Yeah, and right out the gate.
At about the 14-minute mark thereabouts, the titles haven't even come up yet.
But there's Rio. He's chilling out, like, in the background of 2 shots. He's just hanging out where Cat's Eye is stealing a bunch of stuff.
And it's not like a blink and you miss it thing, like, the camera holds on him for a second. For this wide shot outside of this, what is it, an art gallery?
Yes, it's an art gallery.
And you can just see him there, and it's like, well, that's clearly Ryo Saiba.
He's
That's
just
City Hunter.
standing there, kind of posing with his hand on his hip a little bit, and yeah, he's just there. They want you to know he's there.
They wanted you to know. And so now, we're over here thinking, because we had talked before on this podcast about that nice artwork that the author of Detective Conan had worked on, or the artist for Detective Conan had worked on, with City Hunter characters in that style, and now we are that much closer to that being a reality.
Well, there is definitely a reality of Ryo Saiba existing in the same universe as Lupin III.
We're there now.
That's insane.
That's where we are in 2023. We're manifesting now.
Of course, now I just want City Hunter to directly interact with Lupin, because he didn't in this movie, because it's not his movie. But man, think about it. Ryo versus Jigen?
I know, people were bringing that up because we tweeted about it almost immediately.
Yeah.
I was screaming my head off when I saw him. I was just like, Ryo! 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 And you're like, where? And I'm like, he's right there! And so, yeah, we take to Twitter and people brought up, because I was just freaking out that he was even there, that yes, a gunfight between 2 of the best gunmen in anime.
Right.
That would be insane.
Be nuts.
And you get Umibozu in on that action? Come on.
Can you imagine, like, just
Triple threat?
how weirdly different these fighting styles would be between Umibozu and Goemon? Like, it would be just so weird, but kind of funny.
Or Lupin trying to do something pervy and then getting hit with a 100-ton hammer?
Well, yeah, that would be funny. Or Ryo trying to jump at Fujiko and her hitting him in the face with the crotch punch glove.
Yes. Oh my god. Like, it writes itself.
It
Help!
It really does. It fits so well. If they haven't, like, opened the gates to this possibility by making a Cat's Eye movie, oh my god.
Like, Tokyo Broadcast System, come on now.
TBS, please.
We want this.
Yeah.
People will pay money for this.
Yeah.
So that's on the Amazon Prime end of things. So now we move over to Netflix. So we talked to you guys before that out of nowhere, we weren't expecting this, that they are announcing a City Hunter live-action series coming pretty soon in the grand scheme of things.
2024.
And so
we talked about this before in the past.
Right, so we already know who's playing Ryo, and that's actor Ryohei Suzuki. We've seen him in a couple of things. He looks great in the costume. So this week, we found out who's playing Kaori.
Kaori's being played by Misato Morita. So she was in that pretty well acclaimed, it was getting around a lot, that The Naked Director. We've been meaning to watch that one, actually.
Yeah, that's got a couple of people in it, like a couple of Japanese actors that we're real familiar with.
Yeah.
That we like seeing. If you know the Hiro Yoshihiko series, the main character from that, the guy who plays Yoshihiko, he's the lead in that.
Right.
In The Naked Director. It looks real good.
And this promo photo is great. She really just looks like Kaori. I like that she's standing in front of the train station board.
The chalkboard.
The chalkboard. It's got XYZ written down it. And it just makes me wonder, when do they plan on, what is the setting that they plan on putting this in?
Because they've said they're modernizing it, right?
Right, but train stations don't really do chalkboards all that much anymore. You might find out in some rural areas some train stations that still have community chalkboards, but for the most part, they've been eliminated. And most certainly the one that used to literally really real world be in Shinjuku Station doesn't exist anymore. And this picture is put in front of a really old, dirty looking wall. So I don't know.
I don't know, like, if they were gonna do a period piece, like I said they should, I'd be more than happy to see that.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting to see that kind of background art, which again is evocative of the show, evocative of the manga. It's just interesting that it looks as old as it does. As far as what Kaori's wearing, it's kind of timeless looking. Like, you can't really pin it on any one decade. It looks like it fits in now, and it looks like it fits in the 80s.
It could have fit in anywhere between the 60s to now, if I'm to be honest.
Right, exactly. So who knows? I appreciate the Kaori looks real cute, so that's good.
She does. It's gonna be really hard to listen to Ryo claiming she looks like a man, because she doesn't.
No, she looks pretty cute.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. Now we wait to see what any other casting is going to come out next. Are we going to hear about Sayako? Are we going to hear about Umibozu? And where is the damn Minnie?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Minnie is a character.
And see, it's going to be weird because, again, we talk up the French movie so much, but they went to the trouble of, CG recreating the apartment.
They did. They also drove around in a Mini Cooper. So, and the time period appropriate Mini Cooper as well.
I mean, so did Jackie Chan. He had the Mini Cooper for like a minute.
He didn't drive it, though. It just sat there in the
No,
background.
they drive it up to the harbor.
The Mini? They drive in a different red car.
No, they drive it up to the harbor, and that's like the only time he drives it.
They drive a different red car around town.
Well, somebody does. The other character that's not Kaori?
The not Kaori that is totally Kaori?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
It's weird.
It doesn't matter. But speaking of that Jackie Chan movie that I hate talking about, guess what? I got a reason to talk about it now, because Shout Factory is releasing, I guess it's a part 2 box set of a bunch of Jackie Chan films.
Yeah, collection.
It's a collection of Jackie Chan films, and in that box set, oh boy, is City Hunter. Great! This week, and this week only, up until that box set comes out. Then you can talk to me about it again. But this week, you can talk to me about that movie now.
And the episode when we eventually do cover it.
You can talk to me about it 3 times, but only during those times. Otherwise, I said last week, people, please stop talking to me about the Jackie Chan City Hunter movie.
If that's all you know.
That's all you know. And then, like, the news about Kaori came out, and I retweeted, oh, look, here's the Kaori news. And then somebody's like, oh, City Hunter, all I know is the Jackie Chan movie. I know that that's all that you know. I know that. Don't talk to me about it anymore.
Okay. Relax. They're not here. They're not here in the room right now. They can't hurt you. It's okay.
And they're never gonna listen to this. They're never gonna know, because they don't care. They don't actually care about this show. They only care, oh, Jackie Chan, he got in the Chun-Li costume, and then he did the spinning bird kick, yatta. That's all they care about.
I know. I watched the movie too. I was there. It's okay. I bought a copy at Walmart. It's all right.
All right.
No, I got it at Book Off.
Are we gonna get the Shout Factory box set? Like, what?
I already have a copy. We don't need it. We don't need it.
How different could it possibly be? That's what my question is.
Not nearly enough to warrant getting it again.
Unless you really like Jackie Chan and you just want all his movies.
No, I'm good. Like, I have the Jackie Chan movies that I need in my collection, and anything else, usually I can find them for streaming. We're good.
Okay, great.
It's fine.
Okay.
So, that having all been said, let's actually get to the podcast something like 10 minutes into this episode.
Yay!
Alright, so this week we are dealing with dentists, everybody's friend, and I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, sucks when you have a dental emergency, doesn't it, Josh?
Yeah, it does. It really does, which... Funny enough, and no joking, I have a dental emergency right now. I'm not even, like, I'm talking happy, but this hurts like a mother. It's terrible. And Rio is apparently in the exact same boat.
So Rio has made a Rube Goldberg machine in order to pull a tooth out of his mouth.
Some of you, if you've ever seen clips of a Japanese show called Pythagoras Switch.
It's the same idea because Pythagoras, it's a scientific thing about like gravity or some bullshit. I don't know. It's literally the same thing.
You know, the home game Mousetrap. Same deal.
Or Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the breakfast machine.
Rio has made himself a breakfast machine.
That does not make breakfast. It pulls one singular tooth out of his mouth. Or at least, that's the idea. Like, he shoots a gun in order to start this whole Rube Goldberg machine off. And he's got a string tied to his tooth. And most people would just tie the other side of the string to a door and close the door and hope that it pulls the tooth out. But he has decided, no, I need to make this really comical machine to do literally the exact same thing.
Well, you remember, this isn't the first time we've seen him do this.
Well, he did reveal some nudie girl
or swimsuit
model magazine like poster unveiling just because he thought it was funny. He was just entertaining himself. What did he put up, like dominoes?
Yeah, dominoes.
To knock stuff over.
Like, he took a whole day, at least.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that at the time, and now he's done it again, and he's like, if I shoot this gun, and it triggers this thing on the other side of the room, and it pulls this thing and drops another thing here.
And if this goes through here, and this holds long enough to go through here, and this slices through this part like a hot knife through butter.
Josh, what's your point?
I have no point. And unfortunately, the machine doesn't work. It just kind of hits Rio in the head, and the tooth is still there.
Well, it doesn't just hit him in the head. That tooth is actually really resilient.
Yeah.
And it pulls him up out of the chair he's been sitting in. Or actually, he might still be attached to the chair. Like he's tied himself to the chair. And pulls him up into the machine. Like he's just dangling there.
He has a head injury now, on top of a cavity.
He's dangling there from the ceiling of his apartment. And like, Calorie walks in, and if it were me, my first thought would be like, oh my god, did he hang himself? And she just walks in like, not even concerned about him. Just go to the dentist. That's what she's saying, is just, bro, what are you doing? You could just go to the dentist. This is Japan, and we have universal healthcare here, man. Just go to the dentist. But Rio, terrified of dentists.
I mean, a lot of people are, and I get it. As a kid who got braces and had a fair amount of cavities growing up, if you're in there a lot, one of two things can happen. You can either absolutely hate it, or you get used to it.
I never had a problem with it. I was never concerned about it, but it's really cool to know that fear of the dentist is a very universal idea.
Yeah, and that is actually a central point in this episode this week.
Dentistry fear. So we need to see this dentist that we're going to be spending a lot of time with this episode.
And so we're introduced to our dentist for the week, whose name is Sayuri Kainoji. She's going to introduce herself later in the episode.
But that's her name.
Yeah, we'll just get that out of the way up front. And so currently she's working at Smile Dentistry, which sounds like literally any dentist office anywhere here in the US.
I mean, that's just like, where do you think your teeth come from?
From your mouth.
From your smile.
Unnecessary Jurassic Park reference. Yeah, we got one in. And so currently Sayuri is working on a very thuggish looking man, and she's currently working on one of his crowns that she said wasn't attached properly.
She's like, oh my god, this was done overseas? Usually they do a pretty good job. This is crap, I'm sorry. He's like, oh no, it's alright. Just give me back the tooth that you pulled. Like, it's probably worth a lot, right? Because it was from overseas. And she, like, drops it while trying to hand it over.
The whole episode could have been avoided right here in this very moment, because he asks for it and she thinks, well, that's kind of weird, but there's no rule saying I don't have to give it back to him. So fine, here you go. She drops it. It rolls under like a counter or something, and all she would have to do is like stop and reach under it to get it.
But she didn't really bother to kind of look around for it. Instead, she's just like, I'm just gonna go to my drawer full of crowns and just pull out a totally different one. So at first, my thought was, oh, does she realize that there's something important about it or special, and she just wants to keep it for herself? But I don't think that ever comes up in this episode.
No, she's just being lazy.
She's just an idiot. So she's like, yeah, I'm lazy. I don't want to look around. I don't want to get all over on the floor and under my tables and stuff to try and find this. I'm just going to pull out a fresh one and just lie to the dude and tell him, yes, this was the same tooth I just pulled out of your mouth. Here you go.
See, the thing about it is, from a financial standpoint, right? Those cost money.
Yeah.
And so you're dipping into your own inventory instead of just getting down there and picking up the one that came from someone else. No, I'm having to take the hit as the dentist to get this guy out of here because I don't want to do any work and reach under this cabinet.
So anyway, she gives him a fake tooth that is a different fake tooth than the one that he wants, but he just takes it and he's like, that's it, I'm out of here, thanks. And she's like, wait, I didn't put another tooth back in your mouth. He's like, forget it, I'm leaving with a big old hole in my mouth now, bye.
Like, see, if that was me, I couldn't do that. Even if I knew I was doing the thing I was doing right now, which we won't tell you guys, that's why you're listening to the whole podcast. I couldn't do that because there's a hole in my mouth. I need my mouth to eat.
Well, on top of that, if this guy is being a shady motherfucker, maybe just do the whole dental appointment and then you don't look like this weird shady motherfucker who's just like, oh man, it's so weird that he wanted this extracted, but then he didn't want to put another one in. That's really weird.
But proving she's a little bit more lazy than we thought. She's just kind of like, oh, whatever, that was weird.
And then she never picks that tooth up. She's just like, I'm just gonna leave it on the floor.
So she's also a dirty dentist.
I guess so.
And wouldn't you know it, her office is exactly the one that Rio and Cowdy show up to, but it's right as she's closing.
Which Rio is very satisfied with until he realizes the dentist is a woman. And
cute woman.
And suddenly he's like, wow, I love dentists!
And Cody's like, you ass, you never liked the dentist. And he's like, can't hear you, gotta go, cute woman, bye. And just like leaves her outside the door. And so he's inside with Sayuri now, introducing himself, running game. And she's like, oh, I'm here to help you. It sucks, I know, your tooth hurts. Let's get to work on that. And then she pulls out the drill.
Rio hates the drill.
He hates the sound of the drill, specifically.
Well, because the sound triggers fear. It's the sound that triggers fear. And mind you, as she's drilling into that tooth, it hurt a little bit. He's screaming. He's screaming as she's drilling at that tooth. But she's insistent, no, we can fix this right now. Like, we're gonna just drill off the little part that's starting to decay. And I guess she probably filled it up too or something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what dentists do.
If it's the early part of a cavity, the whole process only took maybe about half an hour at best.
Right.
Because, I've been there in that chair for that, low-end cavity. And he's lucky. He's lucky it was only that much, that it was just, it's hurting, but we can take care of it.
Right.
And so we flash forward to that night, and Rio has decided, well, I got through the dental work. That was great. I'm not in pain anymore. I am now in my full Mokkori awareness. I have come back to her house after hours at night, and I have brought a rope with a grappling hook, because instead of knocking on her door or being polite and asking for a date, no, I'm gonna break and enter.
Great idea. He's only saved by the fact that someone else did breaking and entering before he got there.
Right, because he notices somebody else has already thrown up a rope and has climbed up, and they are currently on their way to mess with Sayuri. So we move inside to see Sayuri at her desk studying diligently to keep up being an okay dentist.
Which, yeah, I think she's just an okay dentist. She's got some books on her desk, though, that it's specifically about dentistry, so she tries. I specifically had my eye on the books that are spelled out in Romaji, in Roman letters.
And we can see two of them.
The Roman alphabet. One of them was Mushiba no Hon, which is literally just cavity book.
Like straightforward book of cavities. Okay, that's essential for a dentist, I would figure.
Okay, so the second book is a bit more complicated, but written out out in the Roman alphabet is Shisonoro. Shisonoro.
Yes.
Shisonoro. Shisonoro. Shisonoro.
We got it. And this word is for a specific thing having to do with teeth. It's a type of inflammation of the gums that can lead to bone loss.
Periodontitis.
Yes.
It's periodontitis.
Which is the thing I just said.
Severe gum infection that can lead to tooth loss and other serious health complications. Great! She's a dentist. We have learned that from her books. As if we didn't already know that. But her room is otherwise interesting. She's got this big old poster.
We're going to tell you guys right now, we're going to spend a minute here on the poster.
Yeah, I need an explanation for this poster that I did not get right away. I am going to jump to a lot of assumptions here. So it's this big old poster of just this hot man, this poster boy guy, and it says sample life at the bottom of it, which is funny because I'm pretty sure they meant simple life, but who knows? Maybe they meant sample life because she's a fucking dentist. I don't know. But this dude in the poster is not a dentist. If you ask me,
it's Ryo.
This is a poster of Ryo. This looks pretty clearly like Ryo to me.
It looks a lot like the art you would see done by Hojo
in
for the manga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks a lot like manga art, and I'm sitting here going, could this possibly be anybody other than Ryo? And like, I just looked at it several different ways, and I'm like, no, like that's his hair. He's got a shirt rolled up in the same way. He's got like these white pants that it's way more common to see him in white clothes in the manga because
when they do color it in.
Yeah, because he's more Miami Vice looking.
More realistic.
Way more 80s movie, like Hollywood cinema looking dude in the manga.
And usually has the trench coat if he has that or the other coat he wears.
It's not so much a trench coat. I mean, it's really similar to a trench coat, I guess. But it's a totally different kind of coat or jacket than what he wears in the anime. And so I'm just like, does this woman have a poster of Ryo whom she's never met? When Ryo goes in for his... It's not really an appointment because he just showed up.
His walk-in.
She's not like, oh my god, you look so much like the dude in the poster
in my room.
In my bedroom. Like, this conversation never comes up, and I'm just kind of stunned. Like, is this not him?
But you have to remember here, she is kind of simple.
She's a little simple. But in a second, it feels like Ryo's a little simple too, because he's gonna see this poster.
Okay. But before we get to that, we have to remember there's 3 other dudes here.
Oh yeah, so if Ryo, remember, was beaten to the breaking and entering by 3 other weirdos who are now up in her room, who've also climbed in through her window, and they are harassing her like, hey, give us back the thing you stole. And she's like, I've got no idea what you're talking about, bros. And they're like, yes, you do. And she's like, no, I don't.
And so Ryo's like, hey, leave the lady alone. And so Ryo has decided to kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, you figure he climbed the rope as soon as he noticed, hey, wait a minute, somebody already put a rope up there. He has climbed up, he has watched these guys accost her, and he has waited to position himself to make his move.
But when he does make his move, you notice he took his time to, once again, politely taking off his shoes before he entered the room. Probably left them out on the balcony before he walked in. Like, it doesn't matter if there's a perilous situation happening or not. He takes off his shoes anyway. Like, that's some other kind of dedication to being generic Japanese polite.
Like, it's so weird of all the things that Ryo does, you know, that can be considered rude, like, I don't know, harassing women, he still manages to do that one little thing. Because it happened last week, at the end of last week's episode, and now he's doing it again. Like, I don't know that he's dicking with anybody. Maybe it's just a compulsion. Like, it's so ingrained in him that he can't not do it.
Entirely possible. Maybe he's just got those slip-on kind of business shoes and he just steps right out of them and he doesn't even have to think about it.
I mean, that would be bad for somebody in his position, though.
That would be, yeah.
Because he does a lot of running. You know, sometimes he'll do the martial arts. So slip-ons would not be good.
He does the martial arts in his socks right now.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because, like, he manages to toss all 3 dudes out the window.
He kicks one, like he gets down on the ground, puts his foot in his chest, and kicks him up over behind his head and out the window.
And then he like gets the other guy with the grappling hook he brought. It's kind of like Scorpion, get over here. And then throws him out the window. And then the third guy goes too. So he has dealt with the 3 dudes.
In his socks.
In his socks.
And then Ryo goes over to her, and this entire conversation happens in front of the poster of himself. This is the thing that just blows my mind.
Like, he's standing next to it, like he's leaning on it.
He leans against the wall on the enormous poster of a man that looks identical to himself. I just don't understand. Why are we not addressing this?
Like, to me, it was evocative of, you remember that scene in Airplane when McCroskey is standing next to a picture of himself at his desk?
He walks into frame and it's a picture of himself also standing at that desk.
With that same look on his face?
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Like, that's you, man. Really, I think the only thing it does is really denote how different the art from the show is from the manga.
It could be, yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't have an explanation for Sample Life.
Because this is what I'm thinking, is that art just, to him, it just looks so different. He's like, I wonder who that guy is.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay, so now that we're done with the poster, let's actually focus on what Ryo is here to do.
Okay.
So Ryo goes and comforts Sayuri like, oh my god, are you okay? And she's like, oh my god, I was so scared. Wait a minute, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I was in the neighborhood and I saw the rope, which is half true.
I mean, it's totally true. There's just more to the story than that.
Yeah, he's just omitting some information.
Yeah, like, I was going to do the same thing, and good thing I was here to stop those guys.
And once again, Ryo asks the ever-important question, why dudes?
Oh no, did you have 3 boyfriends? No, they just came in and started asking me about some thing? What thing? I don't know.
But in any case, I'm scared. I will pay you. Please stay here with me.
Oh, he's very happy about that. Very glad to do that. And he thinks he's gonna really get something out of it. But the thing that he gets out of it also isn't really all that bad. It's food. It's dinner.
He is fed until he is satisfied.
Yeah.
Which is his phrasing. And then once he's eaten a full dinner and gotten a pretty decent-sized potbelly out of it, he tells Sayuri, well, I'm very happy with dinner, but now we need to move on to the last remaining thing of the 3 basic needs a human has.
Oh my god.
And she's like, what's that? And he's moving in for the Mokkori moves, but thankfully, we kind of have to say this whole thing together. Kaori shows up, hits him with the hammer, but Kaori, we don't know what time she got here, has also taken the time to put on slippers.
She also took off her shoes. 1, did she bring her own slippers? 2, did she just steal a pair of this woman's slippers? And now she's just walking around in her house in her slippers.
Because Sayuri is already wearing her own slippers, and Ryo is wearing slippers too.
So she gave him slippers, I guess.
But Kaori, did she bring slippers? Or was there just another pair at the door?
She's like, I guess I'm just gonna use these now, thanks.
Also, how did Kaori get in?
Maybe she also saw the rope hanging from the window and climbed up and then went downstairs with the hammer, put on slippers. And this is where the introduction happens, and so it's not like the dentist let her in, because the dentist is just like, oh, I guess I saw you at the front door earlier? Cool.
Right,
Hi.
when Ryo came for his not appointment.
Yeah.
So, the only thing that makes sense is that Kaori climbed up the rope, which also means they left the rope there.
It means 5 people committed breaking and entering that night.
So Kaori says, don't worry, this guy won't bother you. We'll both stay here, but we'll be in the guest room downstairs, so don't you worry about us.
But she should still worry, because Ryo still wakes up in the middle of the night and is like, I'm going up there.
I think it's funny that Sayuri has her own nameplate, but in English, on her door.
It's cute. It's very like, oh, a 10-year-old would think this is fun.
But he's there, up at her door, and Kaori's like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, I thought I heard a noise. I wanted to check on that. And she's like, no, you're not. And then Sayuri wakes up like, what's going on?
Kaori's like, never mind, go back to sleep. And she's like, okay. And she goes back to sleep.
Well, yeah, she says some BS like, oh, Ryo's just having a fit of sleepwalking. Don't you worry about it. But she just goes back to bed.
Yeah, no worries.
So it's the next morning now. They're all down at the breakfast table, and we see some dude again wearing sunglasses, because the 3 dudes who broke in last night were all wearing sunglasses.
Right.
This dude looks like he's out on a morning run, but he's clearly casing Sayuri's house.
Yeah, kind of stops and jogs in place, in front of the place, looks up at the window like, she's up there. I'm gonna go do something else.
Inside, Ryo is just rolling with the story they gave Sayuri. Hey, sorry about last night. I'm I'm a sleepwalker, can't help it. And as they're all talking there at the breakfast table, we see Dude with the sunglasses just kind of creeping in through the window.
And Rio notices, although the other two ladies do not. So Rio's like, I gotta handle this guy, and I gotta do it quietly without worrying them too much. So he decides to worry them in a different way.
With the art of distraction.
By saying, oh my god, what's that on the table? It's a cockroach!
Ah! That roach is good! Get it away, get it away, get it away! And he uses this moment to, with deadly precision, get this guy in the hand that's climbing in the window with a fork.
And he yelps, and he runs off.
But Coyote and Sayuri are still, like, up on a chair, cradling each other, like, get it out, Rio, kill it! And it just reminded you of, like, what was it, a commercial?
No, it's not a commercial. So there was some weird piece of combination live-action animation, and part of it gets around the internet. Although there's a lot more to it, and I've never been able to find the rest of it on the internet. It's Gokiburi Taiso. Gokiburi is the word for cockroach in Japanese. And that's the word that Rio shouted when he's like, it's a cockroach on the table. And Taiso is like calisthenics, like a type of exercise.
Yeah.
So it's this weirdly rotoscoped, like somebody has rotoscoped a person like dancing and waving their arms, but drawn them to look vaguely like a potentially sexy cockroach. It's really weird looking, and it's got like this bizarre song, like, Gokiburi, Gokiburi, Gokiburi Taiso.
Like, you haven't shown this to me, right? I think I've only ever heard you sing the song.
Do you want to see it right now?
No.
It's only a few seconds long.
No,
Do you want to see it right now?
I'm good.
Gokiburi, Gokiburi, Gokiburi Taiso.
And so when we're watching this episode, you just break out in song, Gokiburi, Gokiburi. I'm like, oh, you're doing it again. Because he said
every time I hear the word Gokiburi, I'm going to do that.
Every time?
Every time.
Every time?
Every time.
All right.
Anyway, so Rio is concerned, oh man, something is going on with this lady for these dudes to keep showing up at her house. I don't know what that's about, but I need to keep my wits about me because this guy might come back. And he did. Like, he didn't really leave.
So, Rio and Coyote decide to stick around the office for the rest of the day just to see what happens, because clearly something's going on here.
Right.
Rio goes up to Sayuri after she's opened shop and kind of tries to confess, oh, I need you. It's so painful. I need you in the worst way. And he's trying to put the moves on her. But Coyote has decided to take a page from Marty McFly's book from Back to the Future. When Marty goes to his dad to try and convince him to take his mom out, he shows up in the middle of the night and puts his headphones on him and plays Van Halen.
Yeah.
In that case, it was Van Halen. In this case, Coyote has decided, I don't know how she did it, she has recorded audio of a dental drill.
It can't be that hard to acquire a recording of a dental drill.
Well, like, did she go out to the store and find a tape that had that on there? Or did she have to, like, bring her own recording boombox?
No, you don't need a whole boombox. I can't believe you're talking like this technology didn't exist.
Well, you mean she had a handheld one?
Yeah, like you just...
I have one of those.
Yes, they existed. You were alive for it. You were there. What is wrong with you? We were both there. They were
okay.
real.
Well, either way, it's the fact that she had to go out of her way to make the recording.
Yeah, just go over to the drill, which clearly, like, she pulls out a tooth drill later. Like, yeah, you just hold it up and record it. And then she puts it in a Walkman and then puts the headphones on his ears and then hits play and then right into his ears and he hates it. Of course he hates it. He's terrified of this noise. And she just kind of chases him around the room, really Scooby-Doo style.
And, like, this is not an exaggeration. This is Scooby-Doo. They run off frame and then immediately run back on frame from the opposite direction.
Yeah.
We counted it. It was, like, something like 20 plus...
21 times at least.
In a row?
In a row.
And so they're all just running around the office and Sayuri thinks nothing of it. Like, oh, these guys are funny.
Yeah, but the bad guys are like, haha, they're busy running around back and forth playing the sound of dentist equipment in people's ears. So we're gonna go do our own thing.
We're gonna create another distraction because we really need to investigate that office. And so what they have done is started a small fire in Sayuri's apartment.
Downstairs somewhere, away from her dentist's office. office. Far enough away so that they can do whatever it is they need to do in that office.
And so Ryo's like, hey, you smell that?
I smell that.
Open the door. Oh my god, look at the size of that fire.
There's just a whole bunch of fire, and for whatever reason, Ryo and Kaori have decided, let's just go start stomping on it. And like, this is a big fire.
Yeah, it's a decent size at this point. Like, it's not a small fire.
I would not run up to this enormous fire and just start stepping on it. That is not the thing that I would do. I would maybe get a blanket.
Or some, like, I get the idea of trying to smother it, but just the few frames of them trying to stomp on it, if you put that on loop, it looks like they're dancing.
You could, I guess.
And so they're yelling out for Sayuri, hey, get some water, we got a fire over here.
So she remembers to bring a bucket, but not to put the water in it, but she's already given Kaori the bucket, and she's like, hold on, I'll go get the water, but she doesn't take the bucket with her to go get the water. So, it's just this, again, very cartoony Scooby-Doo-like scenario. And Ryo is just like, here, Kaori, you handle this fire. I'm gonna go place. So now Kaori's standing here literally holding an empty bucket with no water in it. And I don't know how they resolve that. Apparently they resolve that. And the whole time I'm screaming, call the fire department. Call 119. What is wrong with you?
And as you've seen and said on this podcast, apparently the fire department out in Tokyo is amazing.
There should be no reason why you don't call the fire department. This looks like a very fire department-y looking job. It's too big. Don't put it out by yourself.
But sure enough, there is a dude rummaging through Sayuri's office trying to find the missing crown.
Just rooting around. He's just really torn the whole place up trying to get this thing.
And Ryo catches him. But unfortunately, before Ryo can get any information out of the dude, he realizes that his jacket has also caught fire.
He wore that jacket all the way up to the office with it being on fire?
I mean, maybe there was some, like, embers on it, and then it finally, like, caught. Yeah, just... And he's like, oh my god, put it out! It's my favorite only outfit! And we're like, bro, that's your only coat?
Because that's the only coat we ever see you in. What are you talking about? Oh my god. You're gonna end up with another one tomorrow.
We promise.
Is it like the Mini Coopers? If something happens to it, he has to go buy another one. He's just so Einstein about this.
I mean, that's what I figured. Because he literally wears it every day. Kaori is the only one who changes clothes.
That's true.
Even to a certain extent, in that French live-action City Hunter movie, Ryo only wears one outfit. Well, okay, he switches into the tux, but otherwise he's just wearing the one outfit, and Laura, Kaori's counterpart there in the French movie, she's the only one who changes outfits.
Correct.
So that's just a thing.
I mean, that's accurate to the source material.
But Ryo having to deal with his own coat means the dude can get away, and I guess this is enough to calm down Sayuri to let her cry into Ryo's arms like, oh my god, I'm so scared. Do you have a handkerchief? He's like, I got one right here. But it's not a handkerchief.
It's ladies' underwear. I don't really know if it is hers or not. You would expect that it is, because this is a thing that he does all the time. If he's interacting with a woman, he'll steal her underwear, and then he tries again, and he's like, not that, this. Oh, it's a bra. Oh, not that, this. And it's just more undergarments. More and more and more undergarments come out until there's a really substantially large pile of undergarments on the floor, and Ryo still has not found a handkerchief. And so this is why I question whether or not it's actually her underwear, because there's just so much of it. Maybe some of it is hers.
Maybe,
right?
but either
some
way,
of it is Kaori's, and then some of it might just be other women he's stolen from.
He has a
over
problem.
a long time. Maybe he just went to a store and just left. He just shoplifted a shit ton of ladies' undergarments.
Ryo has a problem.
It's a lot.
And he is about to have that problem solved for him because Kaori and Sayuri just strap him to a dentist chair, I guess her one dentist chair, and start the drill up again. He's like, no, God, please. And as they're there, understandably torturing him for this huge display of pervertedness, that's when a tear gas bomb comes flying through the window.
Like, that's a pretty extreme measure for what they're trying to accomplish here.
Well, right, because what ends up happening is they throw it through the window. Again, just like last week, Ryo is tied up, so he can't do anything. And the three guys from earlier come in with gas masks, and they make off with Sayuri.
Of course they do.
And so Kaori and Ryo are just left there crying like, I hate this sucks.
Yeah, tear gas will do that to you.
And so now Sayuri has been taken all the way out to, I assume, the docks again, to the warehouses.
It's always some stupid warehouse somewhere. It's always a warehouse. Did they say where to go? Did they tell him where to go?
No, they didn't.
Okay, so I guess Rio just eventually tracks them to wherever it is they took her.
Right, but he's not there now.
Not just yet.
And so they've got the interrogation spotlight on her. They're like, all right, we need you to give us the thing.
She still doesn't know what they're talking about.
And she's like, who are you? Who's doing this? And dude steps out from behind the spotlight, and it's the thuggish guy from the beginning of the episode.
And she's like, oh, I remember you. You were my patient. And she finally says his name, and I don't...
Mr. Kudo.
Okay, sure. That'll be literally the only time you hear that name. It literally doesn't matter.
And Kudo is there asking her, all right, give us the thing. What thing? The tooth, the crown, the thing from earlier, the thing that you were too lazy to give me. This is why all of this is happening. You're trying to steal it for yourself? What organization are you with?
I'm with the Japan Dental Association. It's like...
You dumbass.
It's as if this was America, it's as if she says...
Who are you with?
I'm with the ADA. They put our association on the front of every toothbrush that you buy.
No, that's not what we meant. You simpleton.
Okay, so you're just an idiot. So where is this thing? And Rio's like, I know where thing is. Because there he is. He's there now.
And so this is just really funny to me. At this point, she calls out to him, Rio! And Rio's like, I'm here. And Kudo is asking, who are you?
Who are you? She just said who I am. I'm Rio.
Like, he says that.
You idiot.
Like, context clues, all right? And Rio's like, well, it took a while to find you guys and also find what you were looking for. Was it this? And he's got the crown there in his hand.
And he's like, oh my god, well that looks like a tooth. And I am looking for a tooth. And Rio's like, would it happen to be a tooth that has microfilm in it?
And so apparently what has happened is that Kudo has smuggled in microfilm of something called a linear engine.
Somebody much smarter than me knows exactly what that is and what that does. So I googled it and I was just like, I am not an engineer. This is probably very important to an engineer, and that is not me.
So we're just going to chalk this one up to just good old-fashioned blanket industrial espionage.
Sure. Anyway, so this microfilm's in here, and you were smuggling it, and you shouldn't be doing that. So now I've got it, and what are we going to do about this?
He's like, all right, we'll trade it. And he's like, all right, fine, hand her over first. And so Kudo lets Sayuri go. And surprisingly, Rio lets them have the film back.
You know, I need to bring up now, before we get too far, while we're in this warehouse, I just like that a whole bunch of boxes in the background are covered with the word that simply screams, don't!
Like, all of these boxes, like, you see there's little scribbling on it that you can't make out, but in clear English with an exclamation point, don't, is on a bunch of these boxes. Like,
don't what? Oh my
I don't
god!
know. What do you need me not to do? I don't know. I can't read.
But also as the camera is panning across this guy and a bunch of his fellow henchmen, then you see the back of this one guy's jacket.
It's like a brown jacket.
And it just says, Enter the Dragon.
And we're just over here like, what? Sunrise. We get it. It's Bruce Lee's arguably best movie.
Sunrise loves film, okay?
They just love media.
They do. You might remember this is not the first time we have seen them just write the names of movies on people's clothes, or the name of a video game they were playing on the side of a boat.
Or show us the albums they're listening to.
Yeah, this happens all the time. Okay, great. Enter the Dragon. It's not like Enter the Dragon was new in 1987.
It had been out for a minute, yeah. But at least we know they have taste.
They liked it. We know that they were like, man, I just really want to tell the world how much I love Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. Just for a few frames of animation.
And we see it like twice. There's 2 shots where you can see it clearly.
Very clearly. In the same frame as, don't!
Just don't.
Don't enter the dragon.
Enter the dragon? Don't enter the dragon.
Oh no.
Choices. And so now that Rio has gotten Sayuri back, Kudo is not just going to let them go. So he's already paid attention and knows what Rio's weakness is. So he's got this boombox behind his back, which we can clearly see has Dolby sound.
Yeah, like they really recreated what was probably an actual existing boombox, and they just copied, like, here's the volume, here's the
treble bass,
and then Dolby, and the Dolby logo too, with like the two. I don't know, it looks like an hourglass shape, the square, you know, the logo.
The outward-facing D's, or that's how I've always thought of it.
Sure, you know the logo. It's literally the Dolby logo on this box, and I'm like, man, you couldn't do that today.
But Kudo's like, you're not getting away that easy, and he hits play.
And it's the sound of dentist drills. And he's like, I know you hate the sound of dentist drills. We just watched Kaori put headphones on you and then play the sound of dentist drills.
All right, get 'em, boys. And so all these dudes, like, was it like 8 dudes surround Ryo.
Including Enter the Dragon dude.
And then Ryo starts fighting back.
While he's like gripping his mouth. And
well, his ears and his mouth.
Well, yeah, because it's like the sound of the drills just makes you feel it in your teeth.
Well, it's kind of like a Pavlov's dog sort of thing.
Yeah, so he's grabbing his cheek like, oh my god, my teeth hurt just listening to it, while he's just flailing around, almost like Drunken Master style, but in pain from audio instead. He's just flailing around and hitting whoever is there. But by the end of it, as he's laid everybody on their ass, he reveals, haha, got you all. This didn't actually bother me at all. I was hitting all of you on purpose.
Because Kaori has actually gotten me used to the sound of a dental drill, and now it doesn't bug me as much.
He phrased it that she had been training him. I don't know if that was deliberately what she was doing.
No, I think he's just playing it off.
But she's smiling like, yeah, that's what I did. I trained
that's
him.
The ticket.
I prepared him for this moment.
And so now Kaori has gotten the freed Sayuri, and everybody's okay, but Ryo has one more thing that he has to do. So dude is over here like, you took out all my dudes, but I'm still gonna get you. Ryo's like, no, you don't. And Ryo, in the fastest, and I mean this,
mid-conversation with this guy,
the fastest I've ever seen him quick draw. In like, what is it? It was only like 8 frames.
I would argue there was one other one that was just so fast. You remember we gushed about how fluid this one draw of animation
Oh, yeah, that one was very fluid, but this one didn't have a lot of frames. It was like 8 frames, and he very quickly pulls his gun, shoots from the hip, and we slowed it down to really appreciate this thing, the beautiful flourish of light.
Right, because then they took the image of Ryo, Kaori, and Sayuri standing next to each other in a line, and then they sort of negative...
Well, like, they show the flash, and so you only see, like, a little bit of their outline, whitewash, black.
Yeah, that's basically turning it into negative space. It's just a really cool effect that you have to stop and appreciate it because it goes by so fast.
But clearly, it gets across this impact of the shot that he does, because he does 3 shots right here. He shoots out the boombox, he shoots out the dude's pocket where he's holding the crown with the microfilm, and then he destroys the microfilm with the 3rd shot.
Now, no one has the microfilm.
And so dude is understandably pissed, and like Kudo's like, well, you've got a gun, but grenade beats gun.
Yes, that's the hand game that everybody's playing now. Rock, paper, scissors, gun, grenade.
And so before dude can even pull the pin on the grenade, Ryo sees it, and he's getting ready to react.
And this whole time I'm like, hey, didn't we see Sayako near the beginning of this, which we never mentioned because it happened so fast? Like, hey, Sayako is just kind of outside watching some of this happen. Are we gonna see her again? And in comes a knife, and I'm like, oh, there she is.
Yeah, so Sayako throws one of her thigh knives and gets the dude right in the hand, and he drops the grenade.
Which, okay, at least she did some police work. A little bit of police work. But she's like, alright, I got him. Thanks, Ryo. I've been trying to catch this guy for a while now. Which is what she always says now.
Literally my save.
Yeah.
She is, to take a page from Allison's book again, I'm sorry, Allison, she's the Mitch Buchanan of this show. Just constantly my save. And Ryo does all of the work for you.
Really?
You didn't
really
do
does.
anything.
Well, she did get the guy in the hand with the knife and prevented the grenade from going off. She at least literally did that much.
Yeah, but you know she's doing it lazily. She's like, alright, I guess I'll do this. Because you know Ryo would have had that handled.
Well, now she can technically take him back to police headquarters and provide evidence that she did in fact actually do some police work. Because this whole time, mind you, Ryo is still helping under the table. The rest of the police department don't know that Sayako sometimes works with City Hunter to catch dudes.
Right, because then it would look bad on the department that they can't do their jobs.
Because she can't do her job. So...
Not without help.
Not really. Understandably, Ryo is very upset. Mind you, he's upset for kind of a selfish reason because he's like, alright, I mean, you're not giving me any sort of payment, either monetarily or in sexy times, and what he wants is sexy times. But really, she should be paying him.
Somehow.
She's taking all the credit every time.
Like he's over here
really isn't fair.
Like Psycho. I'm the one that had to deal with the burning building. You know, they left and they didn't actually, we don't know that they called the fire department.
Well, that's what I was telling you, is that I guess we have to assume they took care of it. Because
we assume, like, hey, we'll call the fire department real quick and then we gotta go chase down these dudes who kidnapped Sayuri. But no, Ryo's like, look, I'm the one with the toothache. I chased off the 3 dudes. I dealt with the fire. I had footsteps playing a second ago. Like, I'm doing the work here. You don't have theme music. I have theme music. Why aren't I getting paid?
So Psycho's like, alright, I will pay you. I'll pay you back in one sexy time, but what are you gonna do about your lady ma'am dentist over here who actually was looking like she might have been kinda sweet on you for a second here?
And so she is effectively cock-blocked him right here.
Yeah.
And Sayuri's like, oh, is that how you are? Well, I hate you now. Bleh.
To be fair, yes, that is exactly how Ryo is.
I mean, you're right, ma'am. You're better off walking away.
Yeah.
And so Supergirl has already started playing, and we're just kind of zooming out on Ryo being like, no!
So, Psycho, you're not gonna pay up? You just said you were gonna pay up, and then she also walked away.
She walked out on the bill. She's not paying. And Cowdy's just like giving Ryo some platitude, one in the hand, two in the bush, whatever. You're not gonna pay either, Cowdy.
Well, she wasn't planning on it. Ryo didn't ask her for it. She works with him, so they both sort of did the work together.
But the episode's over. Ryo's not getting paid in any way, shape, or form, and that's this episode.
Poor dude. Except, like, he is kind of... He will just take any woman. He's way too quick to try to jump to anybody. So, of course, the cute dentist was like, oh, well, if he's just gonna go to any woman, then... bye. Makes sense to me.
So yeah, that's the episode. This is a fun one, I would say.
This is better than most, although Ryo was going to do a breaking and entering in order to meet up with a woman in her bedroom. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's criminal.
There was an interesting poster of Ryo that he stood next to and didn't recognize as himself. That was kind of funny. And there was Enter the Dragon for some reason.
Yes. And also, in regards to Ryo stealing all of this lingerie, like all of these signs on the boxes say,
don't!
Just don't. Don't do it, bruh. But yeah, this is one of the more simple one-off episodes. Next week is gonna be more of the same. We're dealing with a girl who's... What is she doing? She's like charging for hugs or something like that.
Like the convention kind of charging for hugs?
That's immediately what I thought of, because I kind of remember
Or charging for stepping on people. That's the thing that people do these days. It used to be free hugs. Now you have to pay to get stepped on.
Inflation.
Like it's a totally different business these days.
But Ryo does seem like the dude who would pay.
Oh, he would totally do it, yeah.
And especially for like $1, of course he would pay.
Yeah, people be charging not nearly enough at these conventions for doing the stepping on people thing.
But that's a whole nother argument in and of itself, and we'll save that for next week.
So come back next time when we cover the 14th episode of City Hunter 2, Love Can Be Superior to Money? Mokkori versus a Saving Girl.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter. For now, I'm at JoshKnightFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 64th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna spend all of Josh's money.
Not if I spend it all first on Kamen Rider toys.